Hey everyone, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for helping me reach 100 subscribers. I honestly couldn't have done this without your love, support, and constant encouragement. Every like, comment, and subscribe means a lot to me. Now let's keep this journey going. Our next target is 200 subscribers, and I know we can do it together. If you enjoy my content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's grow as a family. Thank you once again. At Marineford, Marco makes the ultimate sacrifice, taking the killing blow meant for Luffy. But death doesn't end the life of a phoenix. Instead of fading away, he's reborn in an entirely different world. A world of chakra, shinobi, and hidden villages. And worst of all, he wakes up as Naruko Uzumaki, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Now a former Whitebeard commander trapped in a ninja's body, Marco must survive Konoha's politics, master chakra instead of devil fruits, and deal with a giant fox sealed inside him. The ninja world thinks it understands the Nine Tails. Disclaimer. This story do not belong to me. The author is Of Flaming Feathers and Bloodstained Furs by Zelga Lim Lee. Respect to author.
Chapter 22. Part 21. It was an uneventful night, but Marco stood guard to ensure that the children, especially his Naruto, will have enough rest. Sleepyhead's team already went ahead, much to the other girl's mournful expression. Perhaps she wants to wait for Sasuke to wake up. After he prepared breakfast, some beastie he took down earlier, he woke Team 7 up. Color finally returned to his human after some sleep, which is quite a relief. There is one thing he is worried about, something he needed to talk with Thatch and the others. He did heard the three strategize their next move as they ate. After giving them a blank look, Naruto may have understand it as she pouted in response. Marco left the children, promising to watch from afar and make sure that there are no snakes littering their immediate vicinity. They were able to reuse the traps Naruto set for the Odo Nins and found a scroll they needed to complete their current task. Rushing towards the tower and avoided any other groups that might snatch their scrolls away. They used her sensing abilities to find a better and less traveled route. For whatever reason, with the seal added to her existing one, allowed her to use her own chakra quite effectively. Even if it tires her more, she was able to hide the pain whenever Sakura looks at her inquisitively. She even requested the other girl to copy both seals on her notebook. The blonde does admit that her calligraphy sucks, and if she plans to understand how these stuff works, she need to start from her own seal. Sasuke did saw her glaring at her gut. He did gave her a noncommittal grunt and tousled her hair, invading her personal space. We'll figure something out. Don't worry about it. They didn't even care about the demon inside her. We are shinobis. We know the difference of a scroll and a kunai. I mean, we are not afraid of you. The Tem nodded in agreement to Sakura's statement with that weird look in his eyes. Bastard. Marco did tug her aside to calm and pet her hair, especially when the pirate saw her confusion. After a few minutes of running around, Sakura noticed that they are going in circles and Sasuke immediately used his Sharingan to dispel the illusion. Then another batch of weirdos, genins from a Megakure, attacked. They knew that expecting help from the others, Marco specifically, isn't something they should always rely on. So they used the maneuver they practiced in the past. Her shadow clones aren't as many as before, possibly because her connection with the damn fox has been severed. But it was more than enough. Sakura may have created new rock formations with Sasuke burning a few trees. They can definitely blame their attackers for that. All in all, they did real good as a team. So when they unrolled the scroll with Iruka-sensei welcoming them, Naruto couldn't stop her emotions and rushes towards him with a big hug. Iruka adamantly requested to the Hokage to be assigned to a specific team. Thankfully their Jonin-sensei never made a fuss and allowed him to welcome the children. He still won't forget how the man pushes his students former up to this stage. And when Naruto rushes towards him, he felt dread in his veins, especially when the blonde buried herself into his arms. Worriedly, he looks at the other two who avoided his gaze. With a sigh, he petted her wild tresses. I'm not going to ask the whys, but can you all of you tell me that you are everyone okay? With a sniffle, Naruto releases her hold as she rubs her nose. She's doing it again. We're good. With her usual grin he knew about the mask she's wearing, the girl answered in a cheeky voice. I just missed you, that's all. After directing the children towards the main hall where the other participants are waiting, he waited for the others' full human transformation. Not that I'm expecting the worst things to happen, but I'm surprised to see Hataki-san still alive and standing. Placing both hands into his pockets, Iruka glances to the blonde standing beside him. Believe me, I almost skinned him alive, yoi, Marco commented in gritted teeth. But Naruto is fond of that bastard. Something about watching over her when she started living on her own. Is that so? With a frown, the scarred Chunin wonder what that meant. Could it be, she can now identify the chakra signature of an individual? Especially to the people she met before, Yoi. Oh, yeah, she is very special. With a farewell wave, he transformed back into his phoenix form. Planning to watch over her from the rafters he saw from the outside. I just hope that your village knows her worth, and not because of unfounded speculations and heresy. The pirate gave him a knowing look as he left him on his own. Yes, Ruruka know how important Uzumaki Naruto is. To him most especially, and a select group of people. And this particular pirate, he don't really need to worry about her anymore, right? Even Hokage-sama agrees when he asks about it. Listen up. Enko started as she walked in front of everyone. Seems like in all 26 teams, only 7 survived. I congratulate everyone from passing the second stage. Good job. After giving last-minute remarks, she handed over the stage. Standing beside the Jonin sensei of each team, she eyed one particular group that already caught her attention the first time she saw them. Not because the bastard's chosen vessel is a part of the team. Or the unremarkable girl who was able to answer all of Ibiki Ojisan's questions. But because of the other one who wears too much orange and has a target on her back. Uzumaki Naruto. Hey, she wonders what this brat can do. Especially the overprotective pet she heard about the other day. Their reactions after hearing Hokage-sama's explanation, priceless. Oh, looks like Hayate Gecko just arrived to oversee the preliminaries. Time to place her wager then. She did overheard Guy assessing Kakashi's brats but was pointedly ignored by the other man. Just brilliant. Naruto clenches her eyes and tried to control herself from looking back. Yakushi Kabuto just withdrew himself from the exam stating his reasons. She knew that Marco is observing somewhere and will not hesitate to attack anyone that he deems as a threat to her. Silently, she hopes that she'll never have to face the other teen again. Traitor. But she knew that the teenager will continue to be a threat to her precious people and she must warn Gigi about him. She must. Lightly bopping her head with a fist, Sasuke rolled his eyes at her. Sakura giggled in response and started braiding her hair. I don't want to explain to Marco how that, got stuck. So clear up your face, Dobie. WYU. The Pinkett tried her best to stifle her laughter and grabs the blonde's jacket away from the Uchiha. Despite their babbling, she was able to hear the Hokage's message and the main reason why these exams are still being held. Looks like we're going to fight everyone from here onwards. Sakura said as she tied the blonde's hair with an elastic band. What? Covering Naruto's mouth, she gave the blonde a pointed look and quickly scanned everyone. It is expected especially with so many participants. With a smirk, Sasuke gave them his signature grunt and regarded the others with a careful expression on his face. It was a look they started to grow familiar with, unlike his previous one that is full of superiority and ego. Marco's teachings really rubbed off. And yeah, the Tem also adopted the Phoenix's impassive look successfully, much to Naruto's envy. Still, the reason why we joined these exams is to show them that we can be better, not because of what they taught us. That we grew up because we want to prove ourselves. Holol Yaya. Despite Sakura's hand covering her mouth, she was able to share her conviction. With a brief glimpse of the electronic board showing the names of the first group of genins that will be fighting, Naruto removed the Pinkett's hand and tugged Sasuke's armband. If you lose to another except to my own magnificent self, I'll make you run around the village naked with your hair dyed in neon orange. Understand? Huffing, Sasuke smiled, one of the very few smiles he learned to share with their team, and raised his fist towards them. Naruto responded with a fist of her own and Sakura added hers, cementing their vow to one another. Let's do this. And so the match begins. Interlude. Gaara 2. The owner of the eye spying on the newcomers growled angrily. Gaze hardening as he carefully analyzed the events that happened earlier. Sitting atop the highest roof of the tower, he expects his prey to fulfill her promise. You are mine to kill, so do not die on me, Uzumaki Naruto. If needed, he'll make sure to remove these threats to ensure that no one touches her but him. With a manic grin, he planned and contemplated several options to ensure that she is his and his alone. First things first, the blonde teen that interrupted him that day. An unknown that poses a threat to his claim. He will. Gaara. Glaring murderously towards the caller, his sand rippled in anticipation. Sighing in defeat, Baki told him to come inside once the alarm blares up, signaling the end of the second stage of the Chunin selection exams. With a nod, he returned to his scheming and plotting. The redhead giggled happily, sensing his prey coming towards the tower. It is only a matter of time.
Yo, quick pause, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, share this video, and tell me in the comments which part you're loving the most.
Chapter 23, Part 22. One wouldn't even think of the preliminaries as something significant. It wasn't even that bloody. Almost. And the only match that interests him is his favorite human. The battle of every genin under his Did went well despite the commotion between the Hyuga's match and that the spandex-wearing genin took a beating, and if wasn't for Naruto's intervention, the boy would have lost a leg. Too bad Sakura didn't pass as she and the other Konoha kunoichi both fell. And Sasuke's fight did show his adaptability when it comes to using chakra and haki alternatively. And yes, he does have a potential of being a conqueror. His Naruto may have freaked out a little during her fight, something about the chakra chains she accidentally procured during her fight with the Inuzuka, so he came over to her side and calmed her, in his phoenix form of course. Thus the current debate the so-called Konoha go Ikenban are having right now. They are accompanied by the civilian ones, the very same people making his human's life difficult. They are starting to be the bane of his existence aside from those annoying marines and his rowdy siblings. Kakashi already stayed in a considerable distance away, but still enough to grab him in case he decided to peck someone's eyeballs. Inuzuka Sume, Kiba's mother, is eyeing these people in a similar manner with her canine companion Kuromaru, another dog similar to Stefan's gigantuan size, looking at him curiously. She must be put down. His temper might have flared a little. That's enough. Strangely enough, it wasn't him that voiced out their annoyance. I don't understand why you people are making a fuss about this, Sume growled while her companion looked at these people irritatingly and yawned widely, showing sharp teeth. My son was defeated because the girl is that strong. Eyes glinting interestingly, she turned towards Marco and assessed him. She got good people beside her, which are more than enough despite the lack of blood relations. With an acknowledging nod she directed at Kakashi, she walks past these people and left with a warning. She fought fair and square. Now if you dare to contest the match, I am more than happy to fight you on her behalf. Anyone. Her intent dangerous enough that scares the civilians. The old coots, particularly Hiruzen's old buddy, did frown in response to the woman's challenge. The third Hokage, God bless his kind heart, chuckled and dismissed everyone when they failed to oppose Sume's challenge. Staying behind with Kakashi standing beside him, Marco ignored Danzo's suspicious look as the door closes off before he allowed his full transformation. I do appreciate your restraint, Marco-kun. With a tired sigh, the man removed the ashes on his pipe to divert his attention from his scrutinizing gaze. A clear reminder that the boy he once knew now carries a very heavy burden on his shoulders. The pirate's eye gleamed sinisterly as he admits in a clipped tone, believe me, I almost did, yoi. Kakashi did place himself farther away from him just to be safe. Rolling his eyes towards the Jonin, he crosses his arms with a frown. What's so worrying about Naruto's improvement as a ninja? Are they expecting her to fail? It was Kakashi who answered. Something he already guessed from his observation during the entirety of his stay. Marco did control his anger though. Just a little bit. They think of her as someone insignificant. Someone who doesn't deserve anything. Even her existence. The masked shinobi avoided his darkening look, but Marco did saw the man clenched his fists. Trying may be a lesser term. Regardless of what they think or do, I won't allow them jeopardize her career. Hiruzen assures them. So both of you keep your calm and let me handle these people. With a firm nod, Marco vowed to himself to shield her from them and perhaps to prepare her from any possible threat, something the kind village leader already took notice from his condescending look. Just don't push yourself too hard, kid. The third laughed quietly as Kakashi's sweat dropped from the said notion. He almost forgot how old the pirate really is. Now, about those chains, he should have left minutes ago. An ability that can only be used by members of the Uzumaki clan, Hokage-sama replied absent-mindedly but didn't elaborate it further. Raising one questioning brow towards them and receives no other response, Marco grunted his displeasure. Lucky small favors indeed, the Hitaki noted internally as he took his book out to block Marco-kun's annoyed look. Uchiha Sasuke may be a lot of things with his constant need to train. To get stronger. His single-mindedness. Defeating that man and avenge his family. He also knew that there are others who are far more stronger than him. Just like Marco. Despite the said fact, he isn't jealous by nature. But then it makes him wonder if the path he previously chosen was the right one. Penny for your thoughts. Hiku asks as she walks alongside him. Blushing slightly, he isn't supposed to be oblivious to his surroundings. Damn it, he shook his head and offered to carry the Yuki's basket. Just some things I needed to work out. Humming with slight interest, the girl places a few strands of hair behind her ear and took a flower from the basket the Uchiha holds in his arms and gave it to him with a small smile on her lips. Peony, the girl murmured softly. It will bring you good luck and fortune. Taking the basket back with quiet thanks, Hiku added after a moment's thought. The path you are about to take, is that what you really wanted all along? Hesitantly, Sasuke took the flower. His face marred by fear that he immediately hid behind an emotionless facade. She didn't point it out but gave his hand a gentle squeeze. Of understanding. Do not let other people dictate your fate, Sasuke-kun. You are the one walking this path, this road of your own choosing. That person took everything from me. And if his Sharingan that he unknowingly activated, showed anguish upon uttering those words. Anyone will be a target if I got too close. With a sigh, the girl gave the Uchiha an unreadable look and walks past him. She does stop a few yards away and faces him slightly. I think, the Yuki noted as she shifted her basket. The hospital where she works part-time is currently busy with their usual patients, be they civilian or shinobis alike. You'll be surprised to know how many people cares for you, Sasuke. With a polite bow, she bids farewell and reminded him of tonight's affair. Thatch-san organized a celebratory meal for Team 7's success in the exams. Even if Sakura didn't reach the finals, she's still included as the said pirate prepared something for the Pinkett as well for doing an awesome job in keeping everyone united. Left to his thoughts while staring at the flower in his hands, the Uchiha smiled and shook his head. He is surrounded by people who just won't leave him alone. Not the worst he can ever imagine per se. And possibly not the most annoying ones, although there are some who are just so persistent. Perhaps he'll train a little bit now and change his clothes before going there. Or the Dobi will nag at him about punctuality and whatnot. If she already woke up, that is. Right. When Naruto opened her eyes, she expected to see the room she shared with Haku. A place that started to be more than just a house. It now became a home. Where she found her waking self, a sewer. And the water itself, it's not smelly or anything, which is a relief. It doesn't even felt wet whenever she stepped on it. The hallway is dark and dingy. She can hear the echoes of her feet as it splashes through everything. What the hell is this place? And where's everybody? Marco. It is only a matter of time. That voice. It can't be. Once he leaves, you will never see him again, the unknown continued, just like how it taunts her ever since she started hearing its voice. It was that very first day when the matron of the orphanage closed their doors and never lets her in. Forced to live in the streets and took refuge in the forest, which is far more safer than the village itself, she endured for a long time. And then she met him. No. Clasping both hands on her ears, Naruto clenched her eyes and tried to block everything. That's not true and you know it. Gritting her teeth, the blonde breathes shallowly and controls the beating of her heart just like Marco's instructions. He promised to tell me when it is time to go, and it's not like I'm going to stop him. Wiping her tears that escaped her eyes, Naruto added in a firm voice. So if you got nothing else to say, shut the hell off. The heavy feeling, the voice's killing intent, started to be bearable and the blonde heard an annoyed huff from the darkest corner of the tunnel. HRMPH. For someone so incompetent, you sure talk big, human. Bristling in frustration, Naruto was about to comment something nasty when she understood its reference. Wait, are you? Wind started to blow from the darkest part of the tunnel, dragging her whole body back. Wait, I think I know you. Pushing forwards, Naruto veered and ignored the burst of current blocking her path. I need to talk to you. Please. As the gust grew stronger, the blonde Jinchuriki's body almost lifted from the ground. I have nothing to say to you. So be gone. This is supposed to be her mind despite its unruly appearance. Why is she being thrown out? Damn it. As Naruto opened her eyes, she saw herself in the safe confines of her room, finally, surrounded by her fluffy blanket and Marco's pillow made by his very own feathers. Thatch-san can be heard from the kitchen, who is arguing with the Phoenix's unmistakable voice. They aren't really fighting, but judging from the commotion and what she can guess from the teen's irate tone, the other blonde is about to kick his best friend again. As she cannot prod through their connection to let her pirate know that she's awake, she removed her blanket and tried to stand. She heard a bit of movement as Marco rushes towards into her room. Pushing herself in a more comfortable sitting position, she gave her Phoenix a small smile as he took her within his arms. You're awake, he breathes in relief. His worry clearly palpable within his eyes. Giving him a gentle pat on his back, Naruto disregarded the dream she had and enjoys the comfort of being within Marco's arms. If she continues to ignore the creature inside, it only delays the inevitable. Knowing that she need to face it sooner than expected, well, nobody can really blame her if she got cold feet. She never wished for the said demon to be sealed inside of her. Blaming the Yondaime for his life choices will be in her next agenda. Something to do once she hits the bucket. And met him. Are you hurting, Yoi? Concern lighting her friend's features as he called out for Haku as the pirate continued to fuss over her. Right, Marco first and then priorities later. She can definitely do that. Interlude, Hiruzen. After he received Uruka's report, he closely kept an eye on his adopted granddaughter, wondering why Orochimaru took a sudden interest on her. Perhaps he wants to use her bond against his chosen vessel. Enko's words rang clear, knowing how obsessed he is with the Uchiha's fabled eyes. But something tells him it is more than that. The girl became Sasuke's anchor against the hatred he forced upon him. He does hope that Naruto and the pirate's presence will help. Perhaps it is time to come clean. Something that he should have done years ago. He shouldn't have allowed the younger generation to shoulder the responsibility, the mistakes the older ones made.
Yo, quick pause, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, share this video, and tell me in the comments which part you're loving the most.
Hokage-sama, Uruka worriedly called as he responded with a warm smile. The kind Chunin stands dutifully behind him as he waits to be addressed. There are some things that I needed to accomplish. With a sigh, Hiruzen removes his hat and eyed the symbol etched into it. But it seems like my time is about to run out. Sir. Laughing amusedly to himself, Sandaime Hokage nodded as if he finally understand what he needs to do. Things to take care of. If the time comes, I want you to do what is right. Just like what the ones before us had done. With a firm set of his eyes, he left Iruka with those words and approaches the participants to give them a few congratulatory remarks before explaining the real purpose of the Chunin exams. He just hoped that what he is about to do is more than enough. Chapter 24. Part 23. What? Sasuke leans away as he avoided the Dobi's spluttering reaction. Kakashi-sensei should be here explaining everything. But knowing how the Jonin avoids the Phoenix, he can understand his reasons. Perhaps self-preservation is a factor he need to consider. Huffing irritatingly, the blonde took the plate Haku offered with a cheerful thank you. I do understand why he's the one who needs to train you Sharingan and all, but why didn't he tell me himself? The blonde did pout after taking a mouthful of pasta. Oblivious to Marco's darkening expression beside her, Sasuke chuckled internally as he places his chin above his palm and studied the blondes in front of him. They almost look alike, despite the difference in shades of the eyes and the hair. Dobi's eyes are lighter where Marco's are dark as the ocean, while his hair is lighter and hers are bright like the rays of the sun. And their bond. It is something he wished to obtain for himself. As if reading his thoughts, Marco turned his glare from the wall beside the balcony Kakashi-sensei's location outside back at him. Oh right, the Phoenix is sensitive to emotions due to his haki. Waving him off dismissively with a hand, he took a breadstick and nibbled on it while silently observing the two. Their tardy-sensei is sulking outside from the unfairness of life itself. Even if he isn't restricted from visiting Naruto's apartment, he tends to avoid Marco's territory whenever the said Phoenix is inside the said premises. Haku did promise to separate treats for the silver-haired Jonin that he'll bring out later after finishing his supposed task. A task that the said man should have handled himself but couldn't do so for his own, nefarious, reasons. Sasuke really does believe that it got something to do with Naruto herself despite the Dobi's obliviousness. Marco sighed audibly and Naruto turned her attention towards him. What's wrong, Marco? I'll be at the rooftop if you need me, yoi. Ruffling his blonde's wild tresses, Marco took his plate and gave Sasuke a parting look. Good luck on your training, kid, pausing slightly to take a bottle of water from the refrigerator and walk towards the door. Make sure to practice your meditation at night. Naruto huffs and redirected her irritation somewhere else. Like the meatballs in Thatch's special spaghetti, surprisingly, it tastes real good with all those tomatoes. I swear that these two bicker like a married couple. Nodding in response with his smile hidden behind his fingers, the Uchiha pushes the plate of cookies on Marco's vacant spot. Indeed they do. No we don't. Startled, the blonde threw her fork towards the newcomer which their sensei avoided as expected for a shinobi of his caliber. The projectile embedded itself on the opposite wall. Whistling appreciatively, he approaches the weapon and tried to pry the fork out. It took a few tugs though. Interesting. It was coated with haki. Nice. Mentally he added it to his no, he doesn't own a journal like the other two. He got eidetic memory after all, list of things he'll be working on during his spare time while purposely ignoring Naruto's screeching as Kakashi-sensei pouts in response to her nagging. Hilarious. I can't believe I'm doing this. Naruto grumbled as she looked petulantly at the address Kakashi-sensei gave her. And the person she will be meeting. The place is a familiar one. Well, she just brought Haku and Sakura here the other day for some needed girls' day out. A way to relieve the stress of becoming a badass kunoichi. She also invited Hinata-chan while the Pinkett drags Ino. The boys with Thatch-san and Kakashi-sensei included, went to men's portion of the bathhouse. She won't even ask how Marco did it with his devil fruit's weakness. He did explain the pros and cons. Afterwards, everyone shared a meal that she enjoyed greatly, maybe because she ate it with people she cares about. Giving the place a once-over, the blonde sighed and crumpled the paper. She was about to throw it away when she heard a slight disturbance from the trees overlooking the women's bath. A very perverted giggle. Closing her eyes and letting her senses expand, Naruto frowned when she recognized the chakra signature. Another one of her old Anbu guards. No, he is. There you are. Ignoring the voice after he entered her range, the blonde huffs in response and glances at the newcomer from the corner of her eyes. The closet pervert crosses his arms and looked at her curiously. What are you doing? Focusing her attention at him and ignoring his question, Naruto eyed him skeptically. I know that you are an elite Jonin, or so you say. Crossing her own arms in response, the blonde studied the man Konohamaru is so fond of. But you are a pervert. What kind of stuff can you teach me that will help me win my match? That one-eyed cyclops must be out of his mind to entrust her to him. Perhaps Marco is a better choice. Chuckling, Ebisu motioned for the girl to follow him inside the bathhouse. Wait. That's. Leisurely walking on top of the water, he observes the girl's reaction and smiled. Control is every ninja's prerogative. Something that they need to continuously improve regardless of experience. Whoa, that's like the tree walking exercise Kakashi-sensei taught us, Datbeo. Naruto exclaimed excitedly. Explaining the concept further, Ebisu got the sinking feeling that the girl doesn't understand everything he said, especially when she looks dumbly at him when he used complex words. Perhaps the treatment she received may have contributed to how she learned the hard way. And if it wasn't for the friend, Uzumaki, Naruto wouldn't become the shinobi that inspired the young master. Perhaps she still will, given the circumstances. Yes, that is correct. With a hum, he walked farther away and stood in the middle of the man-made hot spring. Just like the said exercise, we also use our chakra through the soles of our feet and continuously regulate it while attaching to a different surface. Her first attempt didn't go so well that it drenched her jumpsuit. Thankfully, the girl wore training clothes underneath that allowed her to remove and dry those ridiculous neon-colored monstrosity while trying again. And failing. He did wince when he heard her curses. And a few colorful words not fit for children. He did notice something peculiar on her navel, specifically her seal. But before he can point it out, they both heard another weird noise coming from the trees just outside the women's section. Another perverted giggle distracts them, especially the girl, judging from the annoyed frown she's been giving out. Ebisu backtracked and places himself a bit farther away as the girl loses her control for the nth time. Surprisingly, she was still able to stand shakily for a few seconds before she took another dip. After wiping his glasses, he saw the blonde glared murderously towards the said noise. Alright, let's rest up for a bit. At that exact moment, Ebisu thought of something very interesting and turned to ask the girl. I would like to use your expertise for a well-deserved prank. Interested? The grin she gave him is priceless. Can you repeat that again, please? Marco thinks he overheard their tale. But Hiruzen tried to clarify the situation before he jumps ahead. Surprisingly enough, his kunoichi is feeling accomplished with the task she and her new personal trainer took to apprehend the maniac that disturbs the peace, particularly in the women's bathhouse. Her smile, full of pride. Clones that she transformed into voluptuous and almost naked young women to lure the said pervert out. The temperature in the Hokage's office dropped drastically, and the chair he is perching on, for appearance sake, damn it, cracks with little to no effort. Naruto hastily explains her actions as she looks at him worriedly, but the Tokubetsu Jonin took the initiative, ensuring that the girl didn't use her Warok form. He did blush slightly, meaning Naruto may have shown that blasted jutsu to him in the past. He is not even going to understand the slight cough he heard the village leader made. I swear it is not deliberate, Marco. He did look at her pensively but decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. She felt relieved when the heavy feeling in the air started to ease up. I assume that you no longer need our presence here, Yoi. With a chuckle, the kid, he really should stop calling him that since he is physically older than him, nodded, and Naruto immediately took him within her arms carefully. Because he started growing up, again, he is bigger than an average eagle, and perching on his human shoulders would be stressful on her end. So they decided to carry him when possible, since he's still going incognito. Unless Thatch is available, as the said pirate is taller and can effortlessly carry his weight. After a few last-minute instructions for the girl, he left them on their own, laughing amusedly to himself hearing her feeble attempt to explain their prank. Ebisu went back inside to give his report to the Hokage. Jiraiya-sama already removed his bindings, but you can see the markings Naruto made because of the ropes. She did wrap the older man enthusiastically with lots of knots. She really is her mother's daughter. He looked at the other man questioningly. Hokage-sama had this sad look. Which means, were you able to find anything, Ebisu? They knew her parents. Remembering his task, he provided the information about the other seal that is disrupting the natural flow of her chakra. It was brief, but he did remember the design itself, which he showed to the two. The last remaining Sannin of Konoha curses out loud upon gazing on the said seal and promises to remove it as soon as possible. I don't think that is wise, Jiraiya-sama. Oh ho, how so? The pet wouldn't want you in the same vicinity where Naruto-chan is, he commented after removing his sunglasses and wipes it. A mannerism he acquired to avoid further inquiries. And it works real well. The Sandame agrees wholeheartedly with a small smile as he wrote something on a piece of parchment and handed it over to Jiraiya-sama. If you want to try, I will not stop you. They both smiled silently as the man accepted the challenge. Perhaps Hokage-sama will allow him to watch in a respectable distance. Or a front row view is more worth it. Decisions. When he heard about the pet his goddaughter found, he confronted Kakashi after arriving back to Konoha a few days before the Chunin selection exams. He might have freaked out a little, especially when he learned that the said pet can transform into a human. A Kami-forsaken pirate, pleasing to the eyes and strong. And yet, did he already mention the good-looking one? If Minato knew, he will probably send his little girl somewhere far away where no one from the said opposite sex can get near her. Surprisingly enough, the said pirate happens to be a young teen who is way too close for his liking, especially when Naruto took him within her arms very carefully. His mental warning bells started ringing. Despite the avian's current form, he can feel the danger emanating from the said animal after he looked at him in the eyes. So he went to her apartment discreetly. Unknown to everyone in the village, especially the council, the said property is owned by her mother, thus she doesn't need to pay for the rent except the basic necessities like food and clothing, which is already covered by the stipend she receives as an orphan. Still, it wasn't enough, so he made sure that her allowance is covered, with Gama-chan mysteriously filling itself with Ryo. What he didn't expect is to see someone else in her apartment. Seems like Hiruzen-sensei forgot to mention about her housemates. Who are you and what are doing here? Recognizing Momochi Zabuza's kubikiribocho gleaming dangerously near his neck, Jiraiya studied the man before him. Tall and well-built, the man has a scar under his left eye that looks at him cautiously. He wore loose pants and white buttoned shirt with a bandana tied around his neck. Thatch, when did the other one showed up? He didn't even hear his arrival. Damn it. Jiraiya kept his cool and ignored the sword. Thankfully the man from earlier backs away, keeping his head intact, and faces the most dangerous individual at the moment that suddenly appeared behind him. He does admit that his presence is far more ominous than Hanzo. The toad Sanin carefully observes the teen. You are being noisy. Don't interrupt Naruto's training, Yoi. What? The man called Thatch reacted indignantly while spitting curses in a not so noticeable tone, and argued with the teen, who continues to eye him speculatively. Returning the other man's assessing look, Marco remembers what his Naruto thought about this man. He was one of the people from her childhood, just like that stupid sensei of hers. He got this feeling that they knew her parents, perhaps Hiruzen as well. But they, the silver-haired Jonin especially, never mentioned anything. And Kakashi has all the time in the world to talk to her about it. Damn them. With an annoyed sigh, he jumps over from their current building and landed soundlessly on their own rooftop. Naruto is probably in their living area doing the leaf concentration exercise that Bandana Guy assigned so that she can focus on her chakra. His irritation did spike up a bit when he thinks about their bond. Whatever that snake bastard did severed their connection, thus he won't be able to know her emotions, especially the pain she hides from him because of that blasted seal, which makes him cranky to an extent, much to Kakashi and Thatch's caution. He did give his friend a pointed look conveying his message. Fine. I'll keep her occupied. Sealing his sword, the 4th Division commander took the herbs he picked for that day's meal he left beside the door. Don't even think of fighting near my plants, got that? They're very sensitive. Rolling his eyes at his friend, the phoenix nodded and waited until he's with his human who's asking about him and where he is. I think this is a bit of an overreaction, don't you think? The ninja stated without letting his guard down. Good. He shouldn't. But just the same, he took a deep breath and calmed himself. Hiruzen did mention about this student of his, and if he is not mistaken, this man might be able to help them find their way home. Were you able to find anything, Yoi? The other man sighed and took a scroll inside his jacket and threw it at him. Despite that, the man continues to frown. I won't be able to answer your question if you don't ask, Yoi. He decided to look at the scroll later. Or perhaps Thatch will. Crossing his arms, Jiraiya decided to confront the teen and be done with it. He won't know the pirate's intentions towards his goddaughter, and he does need to make sure that he doesn't have any malicious intent towards Minato's daughter. Marco raises a brow and waited. He had a feeling that he already knew what the other man is about to say. Just like Kakashi, Naruto is too kind. Pausing slightly, his eyes darkened as he returned the pirate's defiant stare. She is someone important to me, to all of us. And I will make sure that no one will take advantage of that innocence. Do you understand? Scoffing, he did sat on one of the benches he pilfered somewhere before that they customized it to fit the theme surrounding their home. Oh, he noted indulgently. But his emotions did graze his eyes, evident of his anger towards the village that took her for granted. The people that hurt her. So you knew how she was treated before I came into her life. How this pathetic fool's almost destroyed that innocence you were talking about. He felt a bit of satisfaction when he saw the man pale from each words that came out of his mouth. But his response did put a damper on his vindictiveness. Jiraiya never felt so tired. But, once you leave, what will become of her? He knew that the teen before him is the reason why Naruto became the kunoichi that she is today. And he is afraid to know what will happen if these pirates go back to their lives, leaving her alone again. Not that he can bring her with him. Everyone from the elemental nations knew his association to the Yondaime. All they need is to look at the right places to know who the girl really is. The blonde is silent, but his eyes are unreadable. It did make him wary. Regardless of what will happen in the future, I will make sure that she's ready. Covering his mouth with a hand and attempt to prevent a growl, Marco gave him a warning. Anyone, even this village, will suffer my wrath if they hurt her. Thinking of one particular prey that escaped him, the phoenix vows to hunt him down. And end him. Before Jiraiya can respond, he heard Haku's frantic call as she rushes towards him. Without even thinking, he sprinted into their apartment and saw Thatch cradling Naruto in his arms. Pale with tears trickling down her face, the girl clutches her stomach, writhing in pain. Marco, it hurts. Taking her into his arms, he swore to himself. He's going to kill that snake bastard. Believe it. Interlude, Ebisu. He knew the changes in the young master's perception about the Hokage is because of one particular person. So he took it upon himself to study the girl. It is not about that ridiculous moment when he was swarmed by multiple copies of her adult self. The pet may have noticed him on that first day but made no attempt to stop his observation, especially when he is just plain curious. Her everyday activities is nothing special. Breakfast, train, meet with the young master to play ninjas. That was so hilarious when he learned about it. Lunch with the said pet at Ichiraku's. Train again, and then there's hockey training in between. The what? Oh, that's what they call their chakra, Konohamaru-sama mentioned. The young master knows a bit and demonstrated how to use the said hockey for combat. Strangely enough, it is almost the same as a chakra-enhanced punch. Utilizing it, however, depends on one's will. An interesting concept. So when he heard what happened in the preliminaries, he's not even surprised. He does believe that the girl can do anything if she puts her mind into it. Especially if she has the support of her pet or friends. Oh dear, the avian is now glaring at him. And why is Kakashi giggling like a demented pervert? TCH. Chapter 25, Part 24. What are we doing here again? Naruto asks for the nth time that morning. Thankfully the incident that occurred yesterday is long forgotten by the said blonde. Perhaps she's ignoring that other elephant in the room, or rather the seal in her gut and the accompanying pain whenever she overuses her chakra, as she denies what happened earlier that day to Sakura when the Pinkett worriedly came to their house that night. And so they are here today upon the request of the perverted Sannin. He states that he can remove the seal with a wordless glint in his demeanor to fix the other one too. A considerable distance away from the village in case the creature's potent chakra leaks. A clearing surrounded by tall trees, a river connecting to a certain valley and a deep ravine littered with protruding rock formations. Internally, he scoffed in response to the other man's reasoning. Just the same, he humored his human and responded absent-mindedly. The pervert said last night that he can fix that seal, yoi. Marco did smile when Naruto made faces and grumbled incoherently to herself as she took her journal from their bag. Thatch adamantly insisted to pack their meal that day in preparation for Naruto's training with the legendary Sannin to study the stupid seal placed on her by that snake bastard. She leans beside the rock he is sitting at. If it wasn't for Haku's information, he wouldn't let anyone near his blonde kunoichi. A few minutes later, the exuberant man arrives on top of a giant toad with a matching kabuki pose. Naruto, who is unmistakably fond of these amphibians, squeal in delight and hug the said animal as the man clucked despairingly as he was ignored in favor of his summon. Alright kid, show me what you can do, Jiraiya began and crosses his arms to observe the blondes before him. He can easily ignore the pirate despite his intimidating presence. Instructing the girl on top of the shallowest part of the river but still enough to soak her, ignoring the other teen's glare, he made her practice the water walking exercise while creating multiple shadow clones. And yes, he did saw Orochimaru's poor attempt at sealing and it made him want to stab his old teammate with a kunai. Ignoring the other set of eyes that follows his every move, he walked towards the girl and prepares a counter seal. Surprising the blonde as she toppled over with a pained cry, he narrowly avoided a kick directed at his middle when the teen stands in between him and Naruto while growling murderously. What the fuck did you do? Before Jiraiya can explain himself, Naruto held his arms and worriedly steadied her and looks at the seal that's been hurting his human. His senses suddenly took a full rush when he felt their bond again. Naruto is already crying and pushes him away from the water as they both fell on the riverbank with her in his arms. His gaze softened knowing how considerate she is with his devil fruit weakness. He already promised, no, he swore to himself. He will never let her go. So, how long has it been? Jiraiya commented as they share the dinner the bulky pirate prepared for that day. Marco, who is sitting beside Naruto's slumbering form, raises his gaze from the bonfire as he continues to pet her hair. What are you talking about, yoi? The Sannin gestured everything, especially how the girl clutches to his side while asleep. He decided to humor himself and angled his head confusingly at him. Huffing in irritation, the older man rolled his eyes and drank from his canister. Smells like alcohol. If you were referring to my Naruto, giving the girl on his lap a fond look, he added in a cheerful tone. Well, I do plan to make her mine. The phoenix chuckled internally when the man chokes on his drink and his face turns a shade darker as if he's having an aneurysm or whatnot. What the heck, are you fucking kidding me? Thinking about that, it does seem like a pretty good idea. He's sure Haku or Thatch wouldn't mind. Hey. Practicing her leaf exercise is now easier compared to when she still have that blasted seal. Same goes with standing on top of the river. Despite his weakness, Marco assisted in an acceptable depth, not enough to drain his strength. The perverted Sannin did look at them weirdly. Naruto did notice a few glares directed to her phoenix and Marco himself shrugs his shoulders dismissively when she asks about it. Overall her training went incredibly well. An added bonus when the pervert allowed her to sign his toad summoning contract. Despite the trepidation knowing who the previous summoner is, Naruto feels elated as she got the chance to cuddle these cute creatures. When they took a break that day, Thatch came by and talked to his friend. With Marco distracted, Jiraiya took the said opportunity and drags her farther away, almost at the edge of the cliff. The phoenix did eye the Sannin suspiciously. Alright, I need you to summon a high-level toad. Staring at him incredulously, the blonde frowns and crosses her arms with a pout. You do realize that I'm almost out of chakra with all those clones, capiche? Seriously kid, where are you learning all these weird languages? Ruffling her hair, he did urge her to prepare the necessary hand signs. But before she can bid her finger for the summon to take effect, he added in a neutral tone as he places a hand on her shoulder. We will be using your other chakra. But to do that, you must be in great distress and feels like, Jiraiya added seriously. Like you'll never see him again. What? Giving her a knowing look, Jiraiya pushes her into the cliff and she accidentally turns towards her phoenix with that horrified look in her eyes. And then there was darkness. When Naruto opened her eyes, she's back in that disgusting tunnel. Perhaps changing the scenery is in order. Taking a deep breath, she willed to destroy the walls of her mindscape and lets it crumble into pieces. Remembering the place Marco is so fond of, she uses it as an inspiration. Then there's the original seal placed by the Yondaime Hokage. As she is yet to understand its purpose and how it really works with her own chakra coil, she settled for a very large cave with tall bars and the main seal at its center. Spacious and has a 180-degree view of the ocean from Marco's memories. The said cave is inside a rocky mountain surrounded by sand and an endless sea. I suppose that pirate really changed everything, Yes he did. With a deep breath, Uzumaki Naruto faces the creature that made her life miserable. And yet, she felt no hatred for it. Blood-red eyes stares down at her but she held her own. We need to talk. What the fuck did you do? Answer me, damn it. Despite his size, the teen was able to manhandle him. The friend did his best to stop the blonde and he do know that anger can do a lot of damage. Just to be safe, he shunshined away from the pirate. Thankfully, Thatch was able to apprehend his friend who's glaring murderously at him. Despite my absence in her life, she grew up to be a fine girl, he started calmly ignoring the suffocating killer intent the teen releases towards him. I am extremely grateful for your presence. So you mean to say that you should be the one shielding her from all this hatred? At that Jiraiya winces. How this pathetic village treat her like a trash, someone worthless, ignoring the sacrifices of her very own father who sealed the creature inside of her. Is that it? Alarmingly he looks at the pirate while Thatch blanches in response. Tell me, how did? Do not mock me, boy. With his friend's surprised reaction, Marco was able to release himself from Thatch's grip. He did held his temper and was about to jump into the ravine to save his kunoichi when he felt something. He felt her more clearly than before. Closing his eyes, he finally allowed his worry to ease up. Assuringly, she responded and the pirate took a relieved breath as a gigantic shadow jumps out from the gorge. Thatch did yelp in surprise as the other man paled considerably when he recognizes Naruto's summon. Heya Marco, missed me. Grinning widely, his blonde waves on top of the toad's enormous head. The amphibian did frown upon seeing him and turn his glare towards the Sannin. He did catch her automatically when she jumps into his arms. Naruto did not waste their time and started to narrate enthusiastically how she convinced boss Gamabunta, the current leader of the Toad clan, to help her escape the gorge and allowed her to become their new summoner because she really loves toads, evident of her colored printed pajamas and her, Gama-chan. Are you hurt, Yoi? She did look at him exasperatingly. Closing her eyes briefly, she patted his cheek fondly as Marco felt her chakra slowly enveloping the two of them and gave a playful nudge through their bond. Opening her eyes, Naruto did gave him a warm look and a bright smile. You worry too much, Marco. Chuckling, she leaned on his shoulder and heard her mumble softly. But yeah, I'm all good. Especially now that you're here with me. The phoenix laughs heartily at her with Thatch rolling his eyes at them as he approaches in a sedate pace while Jiraiya pacifies the angry toad behind. Interlude, Gamabunta. He never expected to be summoned inside a very cramped location. Preparing a litany of curses, he fell a bit short when he saw a pair of cerulean blue staring right back at him. The same blue the other brat has. Recognizing the hair color and the whisker marks, he already guessed who she is, but ask he still does. Are you the one who summoned me, little one? I did. The girl started to tell him everything even if he attempted to stop her, especially when she talks something about perverts, a flaming blue phoenix, the seas outside the borders and whatnot. How she was pushed to her death, just so she can use the Kyuubi's chakra. Alright, sighing, he places her back on top of his head. That is something that man can definitely do. I just cannot believe he will do the same to you. You mean he also tried to kill the Yondaime by throwing him over a mountain or a cliff? The brat is just a genin at the time, he added with a chuckle. But yeah, Jiraiya did the same, push him over to his death thing. Crossing her arms, she sat with a frown on her face. A tried and tested method. Unconventional yet highly disturbing. Exclaiming in shock, the little girl requested to be brought back up immediately or her friend might kill the perverted Sannin accidentally. But the blonde Uzumaki did confirm repeatedly if she can now summon the members of his clan since she already signed the contract and all. He was about to mention about his test but she showed him her, Gama-chan, who unmistakably looks like a miniature version of himself, and how she really loved toads accompanied by that puppy-eyed gaze. Fine, I'll just have to test you in a different way. But I expect you to be ready, understand? With a cheer, the girl did hug him happily as if she didn't hear what he just said. Ah, looks like she knows how to use her eyes to get what she wants. Or did she have selective hearing? Oh well. Chapter 26. Part 25. Ever since the brat came, the scenery, or his prison, became more bearable. Huffing amusedly to himself, the nine-tailed fox, also known as Kurama to his siblings, settled comfortably in his so-called cage. Soft green grass now littered the inside of the cave, with the ocean breeze coming in between the bars. Despite the seal separating him from the outside world and the girl herself, he allows a tail or two to pass through the rivulet that appears on one side of the cavern that continuously flows through the outside. He can faintly hear the water cascading from the side of the mountain into the ocean. Perhaps the source of this stream. The girl really has very good imagination. Remembering their discussion, he could not stop himself but laugh. Oh, the irony of their situation. If his previous hosts are here, they will probably prevent the girl from making that promise. He did mention that to her for the sake of formality. And yet she insisted that this wasn't what she wanted in the first place. So they'll just to deal with it. Hey. The day of the finals came. It was a very busy day. Lots of buzz happening around the village, especially when representatives from neighboring villages came one by one. There are people of importance with their own set of guards, some reporters, and those who are enthusiastic enough to take a breather from their own busy schedule just to witness the spectacle that is the Chunin selection exams. Meanwhile, in a random apartment located in the village hidden among the leaves, a certain pirate is freaking out when the breakfast he prepared was ignored, kind of. Haku gently consoles the man as Sakura watches beside them with a frown, wondering the same thing. Where is Naruto? Marco is kind of expected, and he is probably accompanying the said blonde. Wherever Naruto is, he goes with her, almost always. Meanwhile, Kakashi-sensei sent a summon earlier, a cute little dog named Pakun, that they will be late and won't be able to join the opening ceremony. Hopefully the Uchiha won't adapt the Cyclops mannerisms, or it will be the end of everything. Or so she thought. After she arrives in the arena, she saw Ino and Choji, who both waves at her in greeting. Supporting Shikamaru, who was the only member of Team 10 that passed along with the other rookies Shino, Sasuke and Naruto. Ah, she'll save a seat for Haku then. Hopefully, the former Kiri-nin will be able to drag Thatch-san away from his gloomy corner. When the fireworks started, a bandana-wearing Jonin with a senbon on his mouth walked towards the middle of the field below the stadium and motions for the Genin participants to stand behind him. Surprisingly enough, Team 7 remains missing. Ino did eye her curiously as she facepalms and sighed dejectedly in response. Haku answers on her behalf, who suddenly appeared beside her, minus their friendly pirate who's still probably sulking somewhere. Seems like Sasuke-kun is following Kakashi-san's example, oh no. Although Naruto-chan should be coming in any second now. Did the Yuki sensed her? Out of nowhere, an Anbu drops from the sky with the aforementioned Kunoichi in his arms. The said blonde was cursing colorfully at something or someone, making the two of them wince hearing those words. 3 if we include Ino, while Choji is busy consuming his chips as the masked shinobi patted her head consolingly and disappears in clouds of smoke and leaves. Hyuga Neji sneered at her in response, and if it wasn't for the proctor, the same Chunin that manned their gate in the Forest of Death, Sakura faintly heard his name, Shiranui Genma, Naruto would have attacked him. The pinkett can almost hear Shikamaru mumble his favorite word as Shino approaches to help calm the girl. Seriously though, looks like she is surrounded by crazies. Haku may not look one, but who knows? Oh dear Kami. Your people sure looks lively. Rasa, Yondaime Kazagake of the village hidden in the sands, commented as he looks down from the balcony overlooking the entire arena where the finals are going to be held that day. Hiruzen chuckled in response and took a seat. The same Anbu who brought Naruto in kneeled beside him after discreetly handing a piece of paper into his palm. If I am not mistaken, all of your children made it to the finals, correct? Quickly looking at the paper's content, his eyes widened slightly but kept his composure as he turned to face the only cage that accepted their invitation. Iwa and Kumo's hatred still ran deep despite the truce. The other man smiled mysteriously as he took his own seat. Hiruzen's Anbu tilted his head slightly after observing the other man and faces the arena, ignoring the other Suna shinobi assigned to guard their leader, who is currently eyeing the said Anbu suspiciously. Looks like the girls' match is about to start. Would I be called a hypocrite if I decided to support her rather than my own teammate, Gai-sensei? Lee asks curiously as they settled on their seat next to Tenten, who heard his question. The girl rolled her eyes at him as she decided to pinch his cheek in rebuff. She did save your life, Lee. And I will not hold it against you, especially if you cheered for her today. The twin-bunned Kunoichi stated with that sparkle in her eyes that made the other gulp nervously. You just need to endure Neji's ever-present scowl for the rest of our careers in the event that your blue-eyed Kunoichi wins. Guy laughs in response and may have felt a bit of dread for the upcoming days if Tenten's prediction became true. Carefully, he did observe the girl his rival is so protective of. The blonde does look different now, unlike the first time he saw her. There is determination and confidence in her gait, especially the eyes. He also knows that Kakashi trained the Uchiha. So who could? There you are, guy. It's been a while. Oh, so that's how it is. Jiraiya-sama, it is good to see you again. The other man laughs heartily and glances towards the arena. I see. So that's the Hyuga she's been talking about. Rubbing speculatively on his chin, the man leaned on the baluster behind them. Crossing his arms, the famed Sannin asks if his student is from the branch family. Tenten and Lee both looks at him cautiously, but he waves away their concerns. He'll make sure to explain everything later. Neji is Hizashi Dono's son. Recognition lit the other man's eyes as he winces slightly. Let me guess, he blames everything on the main family, correct? With a sigh, Guy took a sit and observes his student, who seems to be mocking the blonde Jinchuriki. He could not hear his student's words quite clearly, but seems like it was his usual tirade about fate and whatnot. With a hum, Jiraiya scratches his cheek and stands to his full height. It is just too bad he was paired with her. Neji is all prepared. I am certain he will be able to defeat her. Tenten's faith did ease up his worry, and yet the Toad Sannin's response says otherwise. Perhaps, the older man admitted in a serious tone. A genius of his own right, yeah. With a chuckle, Jiraiya added, unless your teammate knows how to improvise for any contingencies, he may not stand a chance against my girl's unpredictability. An Anbu drops behind them and the Sannin nodded in acquiescence to the other's arrival. Well then, I would say good luck to your student. But yeah, we'll see. A very ominous response indeed. Hyuga Neji studied the girl before him. She may have reacted as expected earlier, but what he sees now is entirely different. If one looks closely enough, you can sense how she disperses her chakra from the soles of her feet in web-like strings traveling the entirety of the arena itself. A thicker one races up towards the balcony where the two Kage are seated. I'll never forget what you did to Hinata-chan. The blonde stated seriously. She did frown after she saw the Hyuga clan head from the audience with the youngest, Hanabi. But I supposed it can't be helped. He saw her place a hand on her stomach and bows her head slightly. Whoever thought of dividing your family and placing a seal on the other is an idiot. With a determined look on her eyes, she glances at everyone in the stadium, especially the balcony where the village leaders watching the finals sat. I will be fixing that once I become Hokage, Datbeo. He felt nothing upon hearing those words, yet the noise he heard from their audiences after the girl declared her intent put a smile on his face. He started laughing. You become a Hokage. Wiping a tear that escaped his eyes, he activated his Byakugan and prepares for battle. Such big words, Neji added conversationally, only those who are fated to be one will become one. Not because you just wanted the said position. Huffing, the blonde rolled her eyes at him and crosses her fingers to prepare her first attack. Yeah, don't have to rub it to my face, ya know. Not that you're in anyone's opinion matters. With a grin, she created multiple clones who took out a few kunais of their own. His opinion is all I need to hear. And he believes that I can do it. With a mirthful expression, she smiled sinisterly and attacks. So I will be one, believe it. And then it started. Earlier that morning, are you sure about this place, Yoi? Marco asks while walking alongside her. It was still dark and the rest of the village are still asleep except for a select few masked shinobis that she grew awfully familiar with after starting on that sensing business. She never really expected the Phoenix to come with her. Really. Although she should have expected it. Ever since the events in the Forest of Death, Marco has been more protective than ever, perhaps until the threat of the snake bastard is dealt with. Her plan is real simple. She woke up early and carefully, silently wore the clothes she will be wearing that day. It's the finals, so she needs to be presentable, damn it. The same orange and blue jacket with white collar. And then there's her orange pants. Perhaps grabbing a bite or two of Haku-chan's banana bread. Go to that place and maybe leave some flowers as a sign of respect. From what boss Gamabunta said the day before, the forest where no one can come into, the last known physical location of the Kyuubi no Kitsune before it was sealed into her, contains negative energy. Thus it is very dangerous to civilians and ninjas alike. It was the same place where her parents died. She did worry about Marco's presence here, but her pirate waves it off and ruffled her hair affectionately. I'm mostly resistant due to my devil fruit's regenerative ability. So you don't need worry about it, Yoi. Since he is here, she did ask him a favor to buy some flowers. Better took the opportunity while she's at it. The villagers are yet to accept her presence, so. Chuckling in response, Marco nodded amusedly and walks back to the town proper. Now that she's alone, Naruto took a deep breath and kneeled so that she can pick some stones. The middle of the said clearing does show an empty spot where nothing grows, even weeds. She did place a few shiny rocks she found from the bushes in the middle of the clearing. Marco selected a few of them himself. Those that looks nice enough to be used as a temporary headstone. Hey mom, hey dad, sniffling slightly, she wipes a few tears that escaped her eyes. In case you don't recognize me, I'm your daughter. Smiling, she talks how well she is doing right now because of Marco and her team. how good her training is to become a ninja that they can be proud of. Promising to be very careful with this life they have given, especially now that she have someone important to protect. Pausing slightly, she raised her eyes after sensing him. She did feel her blood came rushing through her face when she saw Marco's expression. The phoenix didn't mutter a word but smiles at her gently and handed a bouquet of flowers. Sunflower and daffodils. From what Haku said, they mean adoration and respect. He did gave her a few minutes of her own to continue giving her respect to her parents as he waited in a considerable distance. Not too far in case someone is brave enough to attack her that he can still reach her immediately if needed. Sitting on top of a fallen tree, Marco did heard his blonde introduce him to her parents. Trying real hard, he tunes out her voice yet he can sense her happiness as she talks about him that made him smile. So he looks ahead and observes the first rays of the sun. And the Anbu that suddenly appeared to greet him. Hokage-sama wants you to wear this for today's event. After taking the scroll, the masked shinobi disappears as Naruto approaches. What's that? Looks like I no longer need to hide, yoi. With a frown, he unseals the scroll showing a change of clothes and a white porcelain mask with familiar markings. With a few turns inspecting the mask, Marco handed it over to her as he started to change. Giving her pirate some privacy, Naruto traces the design of the Anbu mask. The markings which is similar to a certain devil fruit user she knows so well. Glancing sidewards, she picks up the scroll noticing Gigi's handwriting. Suddenly flustered, Naruto rereads the message a few more times. What the fucking hell? Is he kidding me? Present time. Using her clones to swarm the Hyuga prodigy, Naruto immediately substitutes a clone in her place and stands in a distance far from his reach. She knew how dangerous his hands are judging from his fight with Hinata-chan. Knowing that she cannot evade his attacks, she enforces her limbs with haki and closes in. Coming into his range, she saw a hand get past one of her clones dispelling it and then taps her middle. There's a slight sting but it wasn't enough to stop her. Returning his blow with one of her own, she did saw his eyes widen in surprise. The same force she used to incapacitate Thatch during one of their practice sessions. Naruto grinned widely in response and followed it with another hit. This time, she uses the same move Marco taught her. Jumping backwards into a somersault, Neji avoided her kick but the aftermath was enough to take his breath away. Her hit earlier is starting to bother him. He also knew that he avoided her assault but what's the matter? Eyes glinting playfully, the blonde looses her stance and studies him curiously after crossing her arms. I thought you're going to teach me that a genius cannot be pushed back by a dead last. Carefully controlling his reaction, Neji took a deep breath to calm himself. Perhaps I was mistaken. I should not have underestimated you. Finally admitting that the girl is dangerous, he gave her the attention she deserves. For that, I will fight you more seriously now, Uzumaki Naruto. As a leaf fell and touches the ground of the arena, the first match of the Chunin selection exam started once more much to the agitation of a certain blonde-haired pirate silently watching from the shadows. His previous plan to kidnap her away is starting to be more appealing than ever before. Interlude, Kurama. We need to talk. As he stares down at the child, he could almost commend the bravery the girl acquired to face him without fear in those familiar blue eyes. The same color of her blasted father's that sealed him into this particular child. Strangely enough, he isn't sensing any hatred. I don't know why that man sealed you into me. But I really don't care. Huffing, the blonde frown and carefully approaches the gates. I admit that I am still weak. That I still depend on others, Marco most especially, to pull me out of all my messes. Clenching both fists, the girl raises her head in defiance. The fox remains silent though. Observing, when I am strong enough not to rely on anyone's help, especially your chakra, I will set you free from this seal. The blonde added with finality in her tone. As long as you don't harm anyone I care about. Ears twitching, Kurama stands to his full height and allowed his tails to trail behind him. His stolen yin chakra is slowly trickling back into him due to continued exposure to her phoenix's flames. Not that he will mention that to the girl before him. Those accursed women that contained me before you will definitely disagree. Do you really think they will allow this blasphemy of yours? Bristling angrily, the child pouted in response. This is my life. I never really wanted this in the first place. So whatever I decide to do with you or this fucking seal, they'll just to deal with it, whether they like it or not. He laughs out loud, shaking the ground before them as the blonde demanded that he pays out his rent since she just upgraded the place to a more presentable one. Regally he sat and allowed his tails to surround feet as the girl continues her monologue, not even minding the difference in size. How easily he can crush her with one clawed hand. But the seal itself prevents it. Moreover, as if he didn't know about the pirate that changed her life. He won't be surprised if that abomination will be able to reach this place because of that bond. So troublesome. How annoying these human are. Disclaimer: this story do not belong to me. The author is Of Flaming Feathers and Bloodstained Furs by Zelga Lim Lee. Chapter 27. Part 26. Naruto never felt so exhausted. She wanted to All she wanted is, sensing one of the medic nin Haku's acquaintance from the hospital that may have treated her in the past when she was still small and scrawny, who approaches her worriedly. She gave the medic a polite nod back, waves her off and walked towards the waiting area where the other genin participants are staying. After their match, the other medics carted off the Hyuga in a makeshift gurney in one of the med bays prepared for that day. The arena and possibly everyone from the spectators themselves couldn't believe what just happened. The noise was deafening alright, but she isn't sure if they are cheering for her win or the opposite. She stumbled after turning from the corner when she failed to notice a stupid rock. He is probably sighing in exasperation as she is still trying to control her limbs whenever she feels being clumsy. Preparing herself from impact, looks like she has very good relationship with the ground. Os of late. Naruto's eyes widened when she fell on someone's arms. And a very familiar one at that. She can feel his gaze on her as she gently raises her eyes and smiled thankfully in greeting. He always catches her whenever. Gingerly, she touches the mask covering his face. Finally allowing a few tears fall, she burrowed her face within his embrace as she cried her sadness for Neji's fate. They're supposed to be a family. But why would they do that? I don't understand. Moving his mask to a side, Marco kneels and wipes her tears away. You are just too kind for these kind of shit, Naruto. The blonde uses her sleeves to clean her face as she snuffles a bit noisily, knowing that her phoenix wouldn't mind. You're the only one who believes that, you know. With a chuckle, the pirate tugs her arms away and uses a hanky to clean her face and wipes her tears. You know that is not true, Yoi. And as much as I believe that this village does not deserve you, I know there are some people whose life will never be the same if you aren't in it. Marco did heard the lazy Nara coming down from the stairs, possibly to look for his blonde kunoichi. Ruffling Naruto's hair, the girl sticks her tongue out in response after placing his mask back in place. Better head back, Yoi. The others might be wondering why you were taking so long. Rolling her eyes at him, Naruto approaches the Nara after she waves at him in farewell. Marco did frown a little when she wore her usual smile after greeting the boy. Thankfully enough, she rarely uses it whenever they are together. Securing his mask, he really hated covering his face. He went back to his post and stands behind the kid. He did see Thatch handing the two village leaders some refreshments. He also overheard their conversation about the other Suna brat that forfeited his match and the eldest child, another blonde named Tamari, facing the Nara heir. It does sound suspicious enough since the delay should have disqualified Sasuke. A tactic just so the youngest can still fight the Uchiha. Turning around to observe the match, Marco admits that the boy does have potential. He remembers what his Naruto thinks of the kid. Loves to watch the clouds. Possibly smarter than the Tem or Sakura herself. And very lazy. He's not even surprised when the boy surrendered after he incapacitated his opponent using their clan's special technique. He laughs internally after hearing his kunoichi's indignant response from the background. But before the winner for that match is announced, they finally arrived, appearing in the middle of the arena with clouds of smoke and leaves. Then there was it again. An emotion malicious enough that he can taste it from the tip of his tongue. And for whatever reason, the source of the said feeling knows how to mask himself as he hides from his watchful gaze. But he does know that the bastard is here somewhere. So when the red-haired brat loses his mind from Sasuke's attack, a Baka Kakashi taught jutsu, he knew that something is about to happen. Then the balcony explodes, forcing him away from Hiruzen's side as a barrier suddenly erupted, separating the kid from everyone else, trapping him with the other cage. And then there's chaos everywhere. Marco knew that he need to make a decision as Naruto might also be in danger. But what she told him earlier that day made him think twice. Gigi is planning something stupid. I don't want him to get hurt. Looking at him apprehensively, Naruto dropped to her knees and bowed her head. He was about to reprimand her when she added in a pleading voice. Please help him. The enemy is someone he knew. Someone he used to care about. He might hesitate and stand up. You don't really need to beg about something like this ever, Yoi. Raising her chin, he smiled at her fondly. The people you care about. They are under my protection too. So I will look after them, knowing how important they are to you. Relieved, his blonde smiled and tackled him in a tight hug, returning it with one of his own. Perhaps he shouldn't made that promise in the first place. But just the same, god damn it. 4 unknown shinobis suddenly appeared, who might have created the said barrier and caused the explosion. He did saw Hiruzen talking to the other cage, who removes his disguise, revealing himself as the snake bastard who hurt his Naruto. Suzaku, we have to regroup. Hokage-sama wanted us to. Do whatever you have to. Yoi, eyes glinting dangerously, he walks towards the closest enemy he can reach that gave them a condescending look. Make sure to secure the others. I got this one. Coating his legs with haki, he turns slightly to address Neko as he kicks the barrier. What he didn't expect is for it to crack on his first hit. The child did pale, and he can see the look of surprise, especially when he uses his bare hands to force the barrier open. With one swift move, he grabs the enemy's throat in a chokehold as the rest of the barrier fell apart. Handing the terrified child over to the Anbu behind him, he darted towards Hiruzen. Thankfully they didn't stop him. His anger, uncontrollable. It burns like embers, from the tip of his fingers surrounding his entire skin. Marco knew that he is on fire. Figuratively. Ignoring the caskets that shot up to block his attack, he may have broken the third one much to their astounded expressions. His prey may never expected his arrival but was still able to evade him. TCH. What are you doing here, pirate? One of the caskets revealed the Jonin-sensei from the kid's old team and an unknown shinobi with a very overwhelming presence just like Oyaji in his prime. Ignoring them, he follows his prey. Tobirama-sensei. Hiruzen breathes reverently as he stares cautiously towards the other. Hashirama-sama. Ah, looks like someone got a hold of your jutsu, Tobi-kun. I told you not to document it, the Shodai noted glumly as he looks around the village. He did cheer up a bit after seeing him. Oh, Hiruzen-kun. What a surprise. Not that I am sad to see you old and wrinkly, but I'm just so happy to see you again. I for one am happy to see you both, preparing for battle. Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen never expected to win this match without sacrificing something. Facing two cage-level fighters with his current condition, he is far too old for this kind of disorder as a suicide. But, he will try. I just never expected it to be this way. For Konoha, the final seal to control our will isn't given, so there's no need to do much, Hiruzen. Tobirama remarks in a bland tone and crosses his arms, observing his older brother fussing over his former student. As the summoner's attention occupied, this jutsu will expire until the sacrificial body dies. Although for how long, that remains to be seen depending on their physical condition and will to live. Can we dispel it on our own? Hashirama asks as he tried to make sense of the commotion happening around the village. Or rather after we secure the village. I do not want this borrowed time of ours to watch the home we built invaded by outsiders. If you know what I mean. We literally cannot do anything, brother. As it is, we are just puppets. Hashirama may have facepalmed in frustration but instead rakes his hand through his hair with a sullen pout. Seriously Tobi-kun, this jutsu of yours is really annoying. Ignoring his older brother's ramblings, he faces his former student who still eyes them carefully. Care to explain why a Kami-forsaken pirate is in our village? He is not freaking out, thank you very much. But people like him with their kind of ability may pose a more serious threat than a drunk Uchiha Madara. A catastrophe waiting to happen. Orochimaru curses internally when the masked Anbu tries to overrun him. All his attacks are either ignored despite hitting him point on blank or shaken off. The same ninja from earlier whose presence is noticeable even if he tried to suppress it. Could it be? Tell me, boy, with another shunshin, he took a farther distance from his persistent attacker. The barrier that is supposed to prevent anyone from interfering is nowhere in sight. What the hell had happened? What grievances do I owe you to target me this way, As the face is covered, he couldn't see the expression yet Orochimaru knew that the said shinobis, for what it's worth, the killing intent is quite disturbing, focuses solely on him purposely ignoring two reincarnated cages that he should be using to further his plans. But because he couldn't apply the final component to control them fully, they alongside his former sensei, serves as their spectators for this match that is starting to be very irritating. Finally reaching the end of his patience, he uses his snakes to bind this fool. Head tilting slightly cataloging the snakes that surrounded his body, Marco observes the pitiful shinobi before him. A man similar to Teach. Power-hungry. Traitor. Willing to trample on the innocent. Someone else's Naruto. Gaze sharpening, he releases a concentrated wave of Haoshoku. His bindings fell one after the other to the surprise expression of his target. The silver-haired one, the same man he also met before with the kid whose attention is directed at him with the other man curiously observing their fight while Hiruzen stands dutifully beside them. Ignoring their audiences, he stalks towards the bastard. You touched someone precious to me. For that, you must die. Not anticipating the move the bastard prepared for him, he ignored the sword that pierces his middle as he swatted the other's arm and grabs the tongue holding the weapon. Coating his right hand with haki, punches the snake using the flames he rarely uses. The effect is instantaneous. Flames that he first thought was useless as it only heals him. But after reading Haku's notes from the hospital and some experimentations they performed with Thatch as their guinea pig, with some observations here and there especially his favorite kunoichi, Marco finally realized that he can use his devil fruit ability to heal others. And a thought that just appeared during this fight, that he can also use his flames to hurt deciding to choose those who deserves it. What have you done? Hissing angrily, Orochimaru grabs the mask as if to crush his face within. Smirking, he allows him just for the sake of amusement and partly transforms into his phoenix form. With a swipe of his sharp talons, scratches the bastard's face revealing a feminine-looking visage. Eyes darkening, he clawed the arm that raises to protect himself and growled angrily. With a shriek, the bastard quickly uses his spilt blood to summon an enormous snake that crushes the building, destroying everything beneath. The man who he remembers was the first Hokage, uses his rare ability or Kekkei Genkei to reinforce the building with a large tree. Sensing an incoming projectile thrown at his face, he disperses his flames and returned his attention to his prey. Pulling out the sword the bastard used to pierce him, he noticed a few intricate designs etched on the handle, particularly the guard. A fine-looking sword. Looking up, Marco saw a creature with the size of a sea king who stares down at him. What are you waiting for? Destroy him. Orochimaru ordered in a rush as he tries to nurse his wounds. Where the hell is Kabuto, damn it? Mayo looks at her surroundings and listened to the Orochimaru-san's commands. Head tilted lightly, she lets her tongue to taste the air. Frowning, she looks down and came face to face with a sea dweller. And a very dangerous one at that. What are you waiting for? Destroy him. Watch your tongue, boy. Stretching her limbs, the great lilac-colored snake lowers her head slightly as she reprimanded her summoner. The unknown sea dweller looks at her curiously in return. If I am not mistaken, you were told to avoid any skirmishes with a conqueror, especially from those that came from the four seas. What? With a sigh, the snake gave Marco a knowing look. I will not be an instrument to your petty quarrels. Petty. The phoenix's temper may have flared a little. Hurting someone I care about doesn't sound petty at all, yoi. Unknowingly releasing a wave of Haoshoku, he growled as he glares at the Sannin. Huffing, Mayo mentally rolled her eyes in response. How very bothersome. Still, I or any of my brethren will not interfere this particular fight. Summon us when you decided to destroy something else. Ignoring Orochimaru's scandalous reaction, she bowed slightly towards the sea dweller and reverse summoned herself back to Ruchi Cave. Slithering her way into the White Snake's cavern, she saw her older brother, Manda, talking to the elderly sage. I see that you are disturbed. Tell me, child, what did the brat commanded you to do now? The White Snake asks, so Mayo narrated everything. Her brother is silent upon hearing her tale. Not necessarily angry but speculative enough with that cautious glint in his eyes. Oh right, her brother have met a conqueror once, when he was still a youngling. Those people are despicable enough that leaves a bitter taste in our mouth and stomach, Manda harumphed grumpily, reminiscing the events he encountered in the past with their father. I prefer not to face one again, if it can be avoided. Mayo agreed amiably. The one she faced earlier has a peculiar ability that allows him to transform into a mythical creature that she knew from the stories heard in these caves by the oldest among them. He does not seem aggressive though. Still, it was not an unwelcome thought. Perhaps she'll got another chance to meet that human again. Maybe. This should not be happening. His plans, they should be unstoppable. And yet this lowly, Anbu, wannabe continues to be a hindrance to everything. A lowly kami forsaken pirate. Curse you. Clucking his tongue in annoyance, the blonde cocked his head slightly to one side as he leaned Kusanagi over his shoulders. Don't be like that, yoi. We're just getting started. He did sense Kabuto dropping beside him. Ignoring the bruises his spy currently has, he glares at him angrily when he heard his plea to retreat. Him, the great snake Sannin, retreating because of one man. Preposterous. Ignoring the searing pain in his left arm, he grabs the teen by his shirt. We are outmatched. We need to. Silence. Backhanding the boy, he pushes him forward to receive the attack meant to pierce his heart. The sword itself would be a great loss in his arsenal, but Kabuto is right. His survival is foremost important, and if Suna knows what he had done to their leader, better not risk it. Abandoning his people, they are all expendable anyway, especially the medic Nin. He rushes towards the forest to leave the village he loathed with every fiber of his very being, ignoring Jiraiya's stricken expression as he uses one of his contracted summons. The other man is currently fighting the three giant snake as his makeshift springboard to escape. Even if he lost Kabuto now, he still have some aces hidden up his sleeves. This isn't over. Retracting the sword, the weapon does look real handy, so he'll definitely keep it. Marco stares down at the boy. His expression pitiful enough that he waves off an Anbu who tried to put him in chains. Are you sure about this, Marco? Hiruzen asks as he walks towards him while eyeing the said traitor very carefully. He can also see the two, somewhat reincarnated, cages approaching them, with the silver-haired one looking quite disapprovingly. I will take full responsibility for him. No need to worry yourself, kid. The unspoken word is clear in the third Hokage's eyes. Lips quirking a little, he gave him a small smile, purposely ignoring the Nadaime who is glaring daggers behind his back. Laughing boisterously, the Shodai claps him by the shoulder as he tried to assess him physically. Not entirely unpleasant, but somewhat similar to the bond he and Naruto shared. Realization hits him like a punch in a gut. Naruto. Transforming into his full phoenix form, he calls out for Haku and asks to wait for Thatch until they can sort out their new guest. Ignoring Senju Hashirama's amazed reaction, he flew towards his favorite human without looking back. Hiruzen can explain everything to them. The bodies used for the said jutsu may or may not last long though. For now, he needed to make sure that his kunoichi is safe and unharmed. Nothing else matters. Konoha may burn for all he care. Interlude. Kabuto. Perhaps he should have already expected him to throw him into the wolves when the time comes. It was always in their nature. And yet he still hopes that Orochimaru-sama will never betray him. Yet he still did. The pirate's eyes is unreadable though. For whatever reason, he avoided fatal injury from Kusanagi's blades as if the teen knew how to use it. As his former mentor left him for Dead, the Phoenix waves off an ANBU that tried to put him in chains and uses his blue flames to heal his injury. What? Are you sure about this, Marco? The Sandaime asks as he approaches them while eyeing him carefully. The second Hokage is glaring daggers towards the other teen's back as the first is silently observing everyone's reaction. So they knew what he is. I will take full responsibility for him. No need to worry yourself, kid. What? Why? Is he insane? A fool. Clenching his fists tightly, Yakushi Kabuto tried to voice out his objections. The girl who he knew was an immigrant from Kiri stands by his side dutifully, waiting for the other pirate to come along. He never even saw her arrival. His mind, in turmoil. While his emotions, chaotic. She did notice his reaction but answers his unspoken question just the same. Marco-sama have seen something in you. The girl, Haku, mused softly. Thus he will be helping you from here on. Allow you to choose or make your own path, somewhere you belong. That's Chapter 28, Part 27, Naruto's Everything Hurts. Again. Well, this time, it is the good kind of hurting. It's like when she trains all day and the results are what she expected all along. Hard work is the key, Datbeo. It's like when she trains using haki with her awesome ninja skills with Marco and the others. Sasuke is given knowing how obsessed he is in learning new things to get stronger while Sakura just don't want to be left behind. And if she sees her Phoenix's proud look when she lands an unexpected hit, priceless. Lifting her head from having another brief interaction with dirt, she eyed Gaara carefully. His expression seems lost. Naruto does feel sorry for the bruise. Oh my Kami, is that blood? Forming on the other boy's forehead after she head-butted him to break the control the one-tailed Biju has over him. After sensing the Tem and the others ensuring that they are safe and free of Gaara's sands, she forced her limbs to move and approaches the redhead cautiously. Her muscles might be protesting with all their might, but ignore them she did. How did you do that? Gaara added hastily when he saw the confusion in her eyes. Why are you so strong? Huffing exasperatingly, she sat in front of him in a respectable distance. She may have winced slightly and he felt a bit sorry knowing that he was the reason for all her injuries. Those are my friends that you tried to kill. Even if you didn't mean it, I made promise to myself that I will protect them with my life. That is my ninja way. Your ninja way. Nodding, she gave Gaara a little bit of everything. How she thrives to work real hard for the village to accept her existence. To protect her most precious people. Understanding lit his eyes when she told him that they're the same. When his older siblings came, Naruto did notice that Catboy is glaring and took a threatening step towards her. He did stop after 2 strides and paled considerably when he saw something or someone behind her. Oh, she won't admit it to herself but she felt so relieved after sensing her pirate up close. And nope, she is not distracted, just tired, alright. That Marco is, that he's okay. Taking her into his arms, the blonde pirate's eye sharpened dangerously preventing the boy from taking another step. Ready to attack if this ninja tries to harm his blonde kunoichi. Kankuro. Redhead calls out as the sister took one of his arm over her shoulders. Catsuit-wearing boy did help his sister as they took the youngest away. Not before Redhead eyed his Naruto strangely with myriads of emotions in those teal-colored eyes. Marco knew that he'd have to stop them. To answer for the mess they participated with even if they are just tools. But Naruto firmly taps his arm with a shake of her head. Of course, who will dare question his priorities? Are you sure, Yoi? Nodding, his blonde gave him a reassuring smile and leaned towards his shoulders while angling her head tiredly. Kami-sama, Naruto still felt so tired. So sleepy. Perhaps summoning boss Gamabunta when she has enough chakra to spare in the aftermath can be added to her to-do list especially for her future battles. The epic ones. Right, she did jolted back up when she smelled blood on his Anbu uniform. A long tear showing unblemished skin that his devil fruit ability might have already healed. The same size of a blade, AS sword. What the? Chuckling at her reaction, Marco carried her effortlessly placing an arm under her back and the other under her knees. And then she asks about his mask. Oh right, Naruto liked that mask. He wonders what happened to it after the bastard clawed it out from his face. Pouting, and trying real hard to fight her exhaustion, Naruto continues to question what happened to his fight. He's not even going to wonder how she knew that he fought the snake bastard. From the distance, he can see the remaining members of Team 7. Looks shaken, mostly Sakura, but still alive and well, which is a win on his books. Sasuke looks grumpy though. Just your regular day in the village hidden among the leaves. Fantastic. The repairs went remarkably quick. Everyone helped one another. And then they buried and mourned for their dead. And those who were supposed to stay dead was regarded cautiously by the living. But knowing that they are the previous leaders of their village, it was taken as a sign that change is about to happen. Senju Tobirama agrees much to his older brother's enthusiastic exasperation. Hashirama's smile did falter when he saw the last remaining Uzumaki in Konoha, current jailer of the Kyuubi. What happened to his wife's village is tragic and he continues to berate himself for not doing enough. The girl, despite not having the Uzumaki's trademark hair color, looks at him curiously and tried to approach him. Her chakra signature reminds him so much of his beloved wife. The pirate, Marco, returns his look with a warning and led the girl to his previous office now used by Hiruzen-kun with a few hush whispers to the girl. The matter with the traitor was dealt accordingly. Not that it matters. The boy is indeed a citizen of Konoha, although the reasons why he betrayed the village is still unknown. He will entrust his fate to the teen Hiruzen talks fondly of. The sacrificial bodies are dying. And our visit may come to an end anytime soon. He did request for the bodies to be returned to their village in case they have family waiting for them. He may have heard the boy, the traitor, who commented that ninjas from Oto are mostly orphans that Orochimaru have taken under his care. Some against their own will. Others volunteered to escape the hardships of a village that isn't protected by a shinobi organization. His metaphorical heart did quench painfully knowing that his efforts to stop the hatred among the villages and its people haven't stopped at all. Tobirama did sigh behind him. You already did more than enough, brother. Let the children of this generation continue what you've started. Hell yeah, we'll definitely do our best and stop this hatred, Gigi-sama. Marco tried to hide his smile while Kakashi and the others who know the girl fluster at her blatant disrespect or lack thereof after she addressed the Shodai. Hiruzen chuckled in response while Tobirama did frown at her. The blonde turns her attention cheekily towards his younger brother. You too, Oji-san. We got this, so no need to worry yourselves. We're ORMPH. Jiraiya covered her mouth and laughs nervously at them. She may have bitten his hand, judging from the slight wince he made, but slightly drags the girl away from them. Quiet you. He may not know it, but her words did put him in a cheery mood. Kneeling in front of her, she gave the girl a seed he took from his leftover possessions. When the day comes, you will know what to do with this. Clasping her hand with both of his palms, Senju Hashirama entrusted the fate of the village, or perhaps the elemental nations, in her hands. Stay strong for me, little one, everything's going to be alright. The reaction she gave in return made him laugh out loud, much to everyone's incredulous reactions. As their bodies started to scatter, he looked at everyone in the room. His gaze proud, he smiled at them and allowed his soul to be pulled back into the impure world. When the time comes, each of you will face hardships that will define you, test your limits, gives you choices to make, and roads to walk upon. He turned to take one last look of his beloved village. With a sigh, touches the kanji etched on Hiruzen-kun's hat. The philosophy behind the will of fire is to protect, to move forward, and be better. Tobirama gave him a regardful look but didn't add any further comments. For that he is grateful, knowing how skeptical his brother is when it comes to his ideals. Until then, Hashirama does hope that he'll never be called again to fight someone else's battle. Hoping might be a strong word. As life moves on, everyone from the Hidden Leaf village went on with their everyday life. But there are some that still holds on to the past. Some who continues to berate himself for not doing enough. So Marco did what he can, especially when he felt Naruto's worry for the last Uchiha. I'll talk to him, Yoi. Gratefully, his kunoichi nodded as Sakura and Haku led her to the hospital for a much-needed checkup. Her prior injuries may have healed on its own, courtesy of the fox, but it was requested by the Hokage himself. Marco internally rolled his eyes hearing the Pinket's explanation, but urges his human just the same, better to be safe than sorry. Upon hearing that, Thatch did stare at him exasperatingly. Their new guest is minding his own business and tends to stay in his own room, another expansion of Naruto's apartment, with Thatch and the Yuki enjoying the renovations and extra work. The blonde pirate did eye the seals preventing access to the teen's chakra distastefully. Come along, kid. We got places to be, Yoi. Kabuto may have wanted to protest out loud, but remembering his current situation, held his tongue. Seems like his participation in the invasion wasn't mentioned at all throughout the village and only a selection of shinobis knew. Looks like they are bigger fools than what he first thought. The pirate chuckled as if reading his mind. Huffing irritably, he avoided Marco's gaze and followed the other teen outside. Sasuke is being difficult. Something may have happened during their fight with the Suna brat and he's closing himself from the rest of the team, Yoi. Marco stated conversationally. His demeanor remains unchanged. Knowing who the teen is and how dangerous he is, Kabuto hesitated to comment any further. With a sigh, the blonde turns his head slightly and looked at him. You do not need to restrict yourself from anything just because you did something wrong, Yoi. His gaze are unreadable, and yet Kabuto couldn't help himself but saw pity in the pirate's eyes. Rage bubbles within his chest and he returned his look with a defiant tilt of his chin. Both fist clenches tightly and he can feel the seal triggering as his chakra tried to fight off the foreign addition to his person. Scratching his chin as the blonde observes his reaction, Marco turned and walks away as they headed towards the Uchiha compound. This boy has issues, that's for certain. Perhaps, he'll let things work out on their own. Eventually. A new mantra he learned from his favorite kunoichi. As they walked by the busiest part of the village, they were interrupted in between by various greetings from everyone, be they civilians or shinobis. People who may have seen him during the invasion can easily identify the Anbu that defeated the traitorous Sanin, who can use blue flames and transform into a phoenix. Those who remembers his connection to a certain blonde kunoichi avoided his gaze in shame. You're bringing me along just to keep an eye on me, yeah? He asks conversationally in a bland tone. They did reach the Uchiha's private training grounds after evading the next well-wishers with a few turns in between, a street the medic Nin isn't familiar with. A change of scenery perhaps, yoi. They both see the Uchiha running himself ragged. Pieces of charcoal littered across the clearing with a few that still has dying embers. Marco can faintly sense Sasuke's diminishing chakra reserves. Huh, that's something new. What is he doing here? Eyeing Kabuto suspiciously, Sasuke's hold on his kunai tightens, his knuckle white with strain. An observer who wants to see how far the last Uchiha has fallen, Kabuto retorted disdainfully as he studied his surroundings. Sasuke responded angrily as he attacks Kabuto in a blink of an eye that surprises the silver-haired genin. Marco may have anticipated it and went in between the two. Outmaneuvering the Uchiha, the Phoenix drags and pushes the boy face down as he held his arms in a tight grip while giving the other teen an unimpressed look. Don't forget that anger often causes unexpected consequences, Sasuke. You are way better than this, yoi. The boy grunted, and knowing that Sasuke calmed down a little, he releases his hold and held his hand towards the boy. Raising one brow towards the other genin, Kabuto rolls his eyes in response and went to the farther end of the clearing, away from the unstable Uchiha. As Marco further observes the younger boy, he can immediately notice the darkness that is starting to surround him. Something that he needs to rectify as soon as possible. Say, what would you do for a good, OL pirate Y kind of a spar, yoi? Hiku can understand Marco-sama's concerns, especially when they accompanied Naru-chan in the hospital for the mandatory checkup of all shinobis that fought in the invasion. It was subtle, but the looks the staff gave to Naruto held contempt in them. Even some of the older patients who saw her friend upon entering the premises glared angrily at her. Some even ignored her like she was never there. And ever since she started learning Haki, her perception to one's emotions and not just their outside appearances made her realize that something is so definitely wrong. It was very similar to what happened to her in the past. Before Zabuza-sama found her. On the other side of the waiting area, Sakura's already gritting her teeth in annoyance, and the Yuki wouldn't even wonder if the Pinkett will burst out angrily with that temper of hers. Her own eyes glinted dangerously, with her lips setting into a thin line as she stood abruptly, surprising everyone. Perhaps talking to these despicable people one more time will put them in their place. But then Naru-chan holds her arm and looked at her pleadingly and shook her head. But, Sakura asks confusingly. It's all right, really. The blonde smiled. She can hear the sadness in voice and shows them her mask, her acceptance for the said situation. The same face she always showed the world when she's hurting. Realization hit Hiku and covers her mouth to hide the downward turn of her lips from her friend's gaze. That this wasn't the first time it happened. Deciding to settle the issue with her colleagues at a later time, she took Naruto's hand and gestured for Sakura to follow. The girls found themselves at the rooftop on the next building. With a few calming breaths, Hiku decided not to push Naru-chan any further, especially when she saw her reaction earlier. Giving her a comforting smile to ease her trepidation, Sakura sighed beside them and places her arms over the blonde's shoulders with that determined look in her eyes. When you become a Hokage, give us free reign over the hospital. Her expression turns a bit darker and gave Hiku a knowing look. We'll make sure to give it a thorough makeover and train everyone. All right. Sweat dropping, the blonde winces slightly as the Pinkett firmly grasp her shoulders in excitement. We'll also work on your confidence. Ino has some ideas and Hiku wanted to help too. Wait, don't. We promise not to let anyone hurt you anymore, Naru-chan, so leave the rest to us, okay? The former hunter Nin promised. With conviction in her voice, she can see Sakura nodding affirmatively. Naruto's eyes started to blur but kept her emotions in check and gave her friends yes. The said words started to be more than just people who knows her, a wide smile, and tackled the two in a big hug, these people who are precious to her. The Pinkett giggles beside Hiku, who patted her head adoringly. Now she understands why Marco-sama acts that way around her, especially against these people. Naruto is too selfless for her own good. Too kind. And if she needs to lend a helping hand for the village to see her worth, she'll do it. She will make them see how Naruto deserves the best, especially from the village she vowed to protect. Believe it. On the other side of the village, particularly the bathhouse, there are those who wanted to have time for themselves. To relax and feel better after the events that transpired the day before. A respectable, somewhat, looking shinobi, stands guard. Well, not necessarily, but if you look closely enough, anyone in the half-mile radius can hear a perverted giggle. Suspicious enough that if a certain blonde-haired kunoichi heard and saw him, she'll probably tie him up and feed him to the wolves, or women. You detained Kaharu and Mitokado Homura sighed in unison as they waited for the man to notice them. Hiruzen should be here, but because of what happened, it does pain them to know that they could almost do anything except fight death itself. Without looking away from his research, Jiraiya asks curiously. What business does the Go-Ikenban have for me, Interlude. Thatch. Watching his friend struggle with dealing this new relationship of his is something he never expected to see. At all. Perhaps the reason why he was given a second chance in life is to witness Marco and his crazy antics, especially when it comes to Naruto-chan. It was hilarious really, since Birdbrain doesn't know or remember how to deal with girls, specifically the opposite sex, those who he really like. Come to think of it, this was the first time he saw Marco liking someone, in spite of the women they slept with in the past, because yeah. As in really like someone. Even the pirate himself is clueless about this certain development. That he cares for one specific girl more than life itself. Perhaps more than the crew. Naruto herself is another complicated matter. But he'll let Haku and that pretty Anbu chick to deal with the blonde. For now, he continues to observe Marco's poor attempt of this so-called relationship. Not that the two recognize the said relationship to begin with. Perhaps place a wager or two against Kakashi and Jiraiya. These other two who's still in denial about something. Hey, totally outrageous if you ask him.